If you're like me, you've been playing Pokemon GO since the beginning, and you are probably feeling like the game is incredibly boring. And the reason for that is because you've pretty much done everything in Pokemon GO. You've completed every single raid boss, you've caught pretty much every Pokemon in the Pokedex that you can catch, and you have yourself a whole bunch of shinies and a lot of powerful Pokemon. So there's really nothing for you to go after. Well, that's what I'm going to be tackling in this video. I'm going to be talking about why Pokemon GO is still relevant and how you can continue to have fun with this game even if you reach the end game. Yo, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon GO discussion video. Alright, so this is a topic that I've been wanting to cover on my channel for a very long time, mainly because I've been personally feeling it myself. Pokemon GO can be incredibly boring if you've been playing the game for several years. The reason for that is because you pretty much caught every single Pokemon there is to catch, and at this point you're essentially just min-maxing. You're just going for high IVs or even hundos, and on occasion you're also trying to complete the various Pokedexes. Some of you might be dabbling in PvP, and that is of course going to be endless content, but other players who are not interested in PvP, well, they are probably feeling like the game is incredibly boring, and there's not much else that you could do. I really do think this is something that we as Pokemon GO players need to think about when we're playing Pokemon GO. Even if you're a brand new player, eventually you're going to reach a point where you're essentially not going to have much to do in the game. So because of that, I wanted to inject this into the conversation within the Pokemon GO community so that for all of us, we have a reason to continue playing the game. Now, before I dive into this conversation, I should also be transparent and say that when it comes to my own YouTube channel, I tend to be very negative towards Pokemon GO. I mean, I'm the kind of person who is not afraid to share my criticisms for something that I actually enjoy, and Pokemon GO is no exception. I do not have any ties with Niantic, I'm not sponsored by them in any way, so for my channel compared to most other content creators, my content tends to lean more negative. But for this particular video, I'm going to try to stay positive with Pokemon GO because I think in spite of all of its flaws, Pokemon GO is still a really good game and it's deserving of your time and energy. So let's actually start there in this conversation. When it comes to Pokemon GO, I personally think this is one of the best games that are out there. Regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of all the decisions that Niantic have been making that have been incredibly unpopular, at the core of it, Pokemon GO is a really well-designed game. It's a very simple game, it's a game that pretty much anyone can jump into, and there's a lot of little complexities between the lines that keeps players engaged. I'm specifically talking about the min-maxing mechanics. What exactly am I talking about? Well, there are things in the game like IVs, there's things in the games like the ideal movesets, and there's even stuff related to the Go Battle League. Specifically, you need very specific setups for all of your Pokemon or else they're going to be useless compared to most others. And I think this one aspect of Pokemon GO is what keeps a lot of players playing this game. Pokemon GO is a very casual friendly game, no doubt. It's very simple in its mechanics, you really do not have to do much in order to get the full enjoyment out of this game. But for all of those players who want to see the most out of this game, they worry about IVs, they care about shinies, and overall, their experience is going to be a little bit more hardcore. So if you're finding yourself incredibly bored with Pokemon GO, then this is one aspect of the game that you should start tackling. Specifically, going after hundos and shundos, as well as rank 1 IV Go Battle League Pokemon. I guarantee you, if you start caring about perfect IV Pokemon, it's going to drive up how much you care about the game. When it comes to legendaries, for example, I want to get as many 100% IV legendaries as I possibly can. I also want to get every single Mega Evolution Pokemon at 100% IVs. And then of course, I'm trying to get as many Shundos as I possibly can because that is the ultimate bragging rights when it comes to Pokemon GO. So if you're like me and you feel like you've pretty much completed everything, then the next step might be to go after Hundos and Shundos. Now, another aspect of Pokemon GO which I believe gets overlooked, especially by players who are looking for something to do, is of course Buddy Adventure. This is by far one of the most fun mechanics in Pokemon GO, and yet not a lot of players actually care about it. When it comes to the grind for getting best buddy Pokemon, it's actually incredibly fun, and it involves a lot of different aspects of Pokemon GO, and it's something that I would like to see Niantic explore even further in the future. As of right now, there's a lot of ways for you to collect buddy hearts with your buddy Pokemon. You could do a whole bunch of interactions with that Pokemon, like play with it, take pictures of it, but you could also do things like walk routes with your buddy and you will collect hearts that way. You could also pick up some hearts from doing things like tracking your sleep and different things like that. So I really do think that Buddy Adventure is a great way for players to continuously do all different aspects of Pokemon Go, and I just wish Niantic would elaborate on it further, because I think it has a lot of potential. I think there's a lot of things that they could do with Buddy Adventure, but Niantic hasn't really been doing too much, and I feel like this is something that they should definitely explore moving forward. And in fact, some of you may not know this, but recently it was discovered in the code that there's some stuff related to Z moves coming to Pokemon Go. And if you know anything about Z moves, basically it's a super powerful move that every Pokemon will have based on their relationship with their trainer. I think this is something that would be ripe for Buddy Adventure, and I really hope the Buddy Adventure system is related to it in some way. And one other thing I like about Buddy Adventure is the fact that you get little Best Buddy ribbons on all of your Best Buddy Pokemon. And for some reason, I'm obsessed with these little ribbons. Like, for all of my favorite Pokemon, I feel so motivated to getting themselves a ribbon just so that I can have something visual to show that it is one of my favorite Pokemon. So for most of my Shundos, some of my high IV shinies, as well as some legendaries that I use most often, I try to grind it out for Best Buddies on all of those Pokemon, mainly because I want to get that little red ribbon on those Pokemon to show that it is a Pokemon that I really like. So yeah, if you're feeling really bored with the game, maybe it's about time you start grinding out for those Best Buddy Pokemon. A lot of players tend to neglect it, but I think that's a very bad move because there's a lot of benefits to having a whole bunch of Best Buddy Pokemon. And on top of that, you do collect a lot of candies and Candy XL along the way because, in case you didn't know, when you walk your buddy Pokemon when it is active in the map, you actually pick up candies and XL candies every so often. So yeah, it's a really well-designed mechanic and I really hope more players pick up on it. Now, the third thing you can start tackling if you're finding yourself very bored with Pokemon Go is, of course, getting yourself to level 50. I guarantee you a vast majority of players who are feeling bored with this game are not even level 50 yet, and I feel like that is a really great goal to have if you feel like you need something to do. Yes, getting to level 50 involves a lot of really difficult tasks and a whole bunch of experience, which not a lot of players are able to tackle, but I feel like if you challenge yourself, you will make it there, because it doesn't matter if you live in a high population area or if you're not really good at PvP, you just have to put a lot of effort into it. That's how you can reach the highest levels. So when it comes to getting to level 50, I think this is a great goal for you to go after, especially if you need something to do. Now, the fourth thing is going to be something that I'm sure a lot of you are already doing, but maybe you're not doing it intentionally, and that is to farm up shiny shadow Pokemon, specifically doing a whole bunch of Team Go Rocket content every single day. I feel like Team Go Rocket battles are some of the greatest content in Pokemon Go. On top of them being very challenging, they also give you some really good rewards, and those rewards are substantial when it comes to gameplay. I'm specifically talking about Shadow Pokemon, and now that we can do Shadow Legendary raids, you can get yourself a whole bunch of Shadow Legendaries and really beef up your power in raid battles and even in PvP. I really do like Team Go Rocket battles, and I've actually specifically mentioned this to members of Niantic, that I would really like to see them do more and interesting content related to Team Go Rocket. Like, it's been a couple years since we've seen both Jesse and James. I would like to see them return to the game, because they always generated a lot of hype and a lot of excitement regardless of whatever Pokemon they gave you. And I think they should be making regular appearances in Pokemon Go because they definitely added a lot of flavor and a lot of excitement to the game. And then on top of that, I'm always a big fan whenever they use any of the characters within Team Go Rocket, like for example, for some of the Go Fests and Go Tours, you often get special research tasks that involve interacting with these NPCs and sometimes helping them out. And I think that's always really fun in terms of a lore and story point of view, because they are essentially the villains of Pokemon Go, but at the same time, they're also kind of like anti-heroes. Ever since they were introduced, they all seem to have their own little fan bases. So yeah, I wish Niantic did more with them, because I do think at this point, all three of the Team Go Rocket leaders, along with Giovanni, are quite iconic, and Niantic should lean heavily into that. Now, the final thing that I wanted to talk about regarding what you could be doing if you're finding yourself bored with this game is all of the different micro content that involves a lot of skill and dedication. Like, yeah, I understand that this is a bit of an obvious one, but there's so many different layers in Pokemon GO's gameplay that a lot of players tend to overlook. Earlier, I mentioned Buddy Adventure, but there's also stuff like PvP, there's all of the gym badges that you could be going for, like getting gold gym badges for all the gyms around you. There's all of the platinum medals and the achievements that you could be going for. And then of course, going for the highest ranks in PvP so that you could qualify for Worlds. Whatever it may be, Niantic actually does offer you quite a lot of content in Pokemon Go. But because the game is so simple and there's just a lot of mechanics that pretty much anyone can pick up on, a lot of players tend to overlook some of the details and the intricacies of Pokemon Go's gameplay. If you take away the layers of the basic surface level gameplay, there's just so much stuff for you to do in Pokemon Go. You just have to dive into it and do a lot of research, because if you want to continue playing Pokemon Go and you need some motivation to play every single day, well, a lot of it is going to come down to you creating your own motivation. And there's definitely a lot of opportunities for you to do that. So yeah, in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Now, let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Is there a particular reason why you're continuing to play Pokemon Go, even though you feel like you've accomplished everything? I would like to know what that is in the comments. Definitely share them, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that notification bell so that you stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a shout out to every single patron on my Patreon. You all make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the absolute best way you could do so is by joining my Patreon. When you do that, you will get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon Go friends list. So if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, like with remote raids or the friendship system, make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my channel in a different way, you could do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I will catch you all later.